So what's the relationship like with the girls that are competing? I feel like that should be a reality show right
It
there in
should.
itself. Like
It
forget the Bachelor, Bachelorette. Let's get 24 girls who are trying to make the
yeah.
Olympic team,
Who are
who are
all
teenagers,
under 20.
and
Yeah.
yeah, put them in a house together and see what happens.
It's brutal.
Did
It's
you like hate
brutal.
some of them?
I mean,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to In the Booth. I'm Sean Booth. We got Sam Cat.
hey guys.
She's over there on the couch. And today we have a very special guest. She is the mother, badass mom to two kids, an owner of an Olympic gold medal and some silvers.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the wife to Andrew East. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Johnson.
Okay, most importantly,
Hey, I agree with that. I agree with
Is that the order of accomplishments?
Absolutely.
It's like kids,
Yeah.
gold medal, Andrew.
Oh no, the opposite.
Yeah.
Andrew's the pinnacle of my success.
Okay. That's nice. I feel like we've gotten to know each other over the past few years, and Andrew, we always end up at the same charity events.
Always.
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 They're always competitive. And one thing I've learned is that you and Andrew are annoyingly really good at everything.
We just train a lot, and you guys don't know that. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. No. We're just very, very competitive.
Yeah, I like that. I'm competitive too. We've done special forces, charity trusts with shooting guns,
Yep.
softball.
Yeah.
You do anything athletic.
I'll do anything. I jump out of planes. I'll sign up for crazy stuff. It freaks me out, but why not?
That's awesome. Well, when you were growing up, when did you get into gymnastics? Was it your first love, or were you trying out all different sports, or was it something your parents were like, hey, let's throw into this?
Long story made as simple as possible. I was a crazy 2-year-old, which I now am learning firsthand that I have as
Yeah.
well. My parents put me in dance because they thought that was like what you put little girls in. I hated it. And they moved me to gymnastics at 2 to like mommy and me classes. And I fell in love with the trampoline because I thought I could fly and I got an adrenaline rush out of it.
Yeah.
And continued in gymnastics all the way through school, elementary, high school. I tried every other sport along the way. I played soccer, I ran track, I swam, danced, softball, everything.
Everything.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
But when everything got more and more time consuming,
Right.
I had to kind of continue to kick something out. And gymnastics was kind of like last man standing.
Gotcha. So what age were you when that happened?
Well,
Because you were starting super young.
I made the U.S. national team at 12, and it was around then that
So you're like, all right, we got to stop playing
Yeah.
softball and everything else and just focus on this. And how much time, like a week, were you spending practicing?
So my story is a little bit different than like the stereotypical elite gymnast, for many different reasons. But I did full day of public school, and I trained Monday through Friday for 4 hours after school. Saturday I did 6 hours, and Sunday I got the day off. So
Okay.
26 hours
All
a
right.
week,
So
which
that's
is
a
not
lot.
bad for most elite gymnasts. Like the common program would be 40.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay. So was gymnastics a big thing there? Or were you kind of just like
Not
one
at
of the
all.
only ones?
Another crazy story. My coach is Chinese. He was born and raised in Beijing, China. He was a world champion gymnast there. He had the American dream of starting his own gym in the United States and raising Olympians. Randomly, he got a full ride scholarship to the University of Iowa to learn English in exchange for coaching their gymnastics team. And through that, he wound up in Des Moines, Iowa, where he started his gym, and it was a mile from my house. My parents went there because it saved gas money.
Really?
I was one of his very first gymnasts when he opened his doors.
That's wild. So were your parents like hardcore or just kind of like, she's loving it, she's doing good, we'll let her just see where this goes? Or are they like, all right, Sean?
My parents were as far from that as possible. They would beg me to skip gymnastics so
Really?
I could stay home with them. Yeah.
That's great.
My parents had a strange upbringing themselves. They got married at 16, trying to get away from like toxic family lives. And they wanted nothing but to raise a kid that was just normal and had a
Right.
very normal life.
Well, that did not end up happening.
No,
Not
it
a very
didn't.
normal
No.
life. So world championships, 12 years old.
Yes.
Okay. And so What's the difference between the World Championships and the Olympics?
I love that you're asking this question. Nobody's ever asked this.
Yeah,
So the World Championships is actually a harder competition.
and you won that
I
a
did.
couple times, right?
I did.
No big
But
deal.
the World Championships you can qualify into as an individual. The Olympics you have to qualify into as a country. So
Right.
there are a lot of really, really amazing athletes out there that can't go to the Olympics because they don't have a country to like
Interesting.
represent
And
or
they
more
can't.
people to qualify in.
Right. So their country's just not allowed, or they don't have the
Yeah.
qualifications.
But World Championships, literally an individual can go.
Okay. So I could go
Yeah.
right now at my age.
Yes.
Is there an age limit?
No, there's no age limit.
All
It's
right.
like
Here we
it's like
go.
a
New
free for all. So
career.
it's actually a really fun competition for gymnasts because there's no sanctions. It's truly the best in the world who come, which is a lot of fun.
That's wild. So then, okay. So the Olympics obviously gets more press. You got the whole country involved.
Yes.
Going from the World Championships to the Olympics, that whole process, narrowing down who's going to represent the country, is that something that's super political, right? Like it's got to
Yeah.
be because there's
Very.
so many millions of gymnasts. And how does that whole process work? Where you have to go to certain competitions throughout the country to
Mhm.
get a spot, or is it just knowing the right people?
It's so every single sport has a different system. There's no
Right.
like governing body that requires a certain system to get to the Olympics. So USA Gymnastics governing body has its own process. Um, as soon as you make the national team, which I made at 12,
Mhm.
I'm technically in the group or the pile that gets chosen for the Olympics. That pile is usually around 24 girls. And from the time you make the national team, you're kind of just building a resume.
Mhm.
So, how do you perform under pressure? Do you tend to like choke under different scenarios? They kind of just like throw you all into different scenarios for years, watching you kind of play out your
Yeah.
role. And then when the Olympic team is selected, it's hand selected. So there's no qualification for USA Gymnastics because if you watch the gymnastics finals in the Olympics, you can get a gold medal on a vault, bars, beam, floor, all around, and team. So there's 6 medals up for grabs.
Mhm.
So they're not going to just take the top 6 US gymnasts
Right.
because
They got to get the best for
they have to get the
each.
best on each.
Yeah.
So you strategically over the course of your career have to figure out where you're going to fit in that team of I think now 4 to get as many medals as possible. And my strategy going into gymnastics was I was going to go for the all around medal, which was being a little above average on every single event.
Mhm.
So I could help the team for the team medal and I could also secure the all around, if
Gotcha.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, it's a smart move. But then beam ended up being your best,
And I
correct?
just happened to be good at beam. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's the relationship like with the girls that are competing? I feel like that should be a reality show right
It
there in
should.
itself. Like
It
forget the bachelor, bachelorette. Let's get 24 girls who are trying to make the
yeah.
Olympic team,
Who are
who are
all
teenagers,
under 20.
and
Yeah.
yeah, put them in a house together and see what happens.
It's brutal.
Did
It's
you like
brutal.
hate some of them?
I mean,
I mean, you're
yes.
competitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think I like disliked anybody because of their ability,
Right. You're just competitive.
but we just 24 girls living in the same place and you're 16 years old, you're bound to not get along with some of them.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, we are all very, very close and we're all very close going through that. It's a very isolating experience. You're away from your parents, you're away from your friends, and you live together for months on end. Um, so we kind of became like sisters in
Right.
the love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
And there were definitely like cliques and like yeah,
Of
it should be a
course.
reality TV show.
Yeah.
But we were very, very close. I think the tension doesn't really like get to us until after competitions when like the press gets involved.
Right.
That's where it gets really hard.
I mean, because that's a wild thing to throw in young athletes with the press. And then not even talking about the pressure of your country and getting thrown on national TV and having to perform in front of millions and millions of people.
Mhm.
What did you do to train to get yourself ready for that? I mean, there's got to be some aspect of mental training as well.
So that was the beauty of me being so young and naive is I didn't have any control over that being a minor. That came down to my team, my agent, my parents, my coach. And so training for that mental pressure of the press and the exposure basically, I didn't really train for it. My team worked really hard to keep me away from all of it. I wasn't allowed to like do press or any business opportunity until I was done.
Gotcha. Just keep you completely focused.
And I will say like it seeped in.
Of
I could
course.
see contracts that were being negotiated. I knew what was happening,
Yeah.
but for the most part my team did a really really good job of kind of like protecting me from all of that pressure.
Okay. What was that feeling like when you officially found out that you were going to represent the country in Beijing? Like, you remember finding out, like
Yes.
getting a call, or was it in person?
It's in person and it's brutal because they literally like sit all 24 of you down.
I feel like I've seen that on TV where they had an event, and this was a couple years ago, and then they named off some names of
Yeah.
the girls who were going. I'm like, damn, that's ice cold. These other
It's
girls are just
ice
right there, and
cold.
they're like, see you later.
It's such a beautiful moment because they're wanting to celebrate the team, but
Yeah, of course. But you worked your whole life to get to that point.
that and these girls are like our sisters too.
Yeah.
So even though if you're competitive and you probably want to see them like make a mistake in competition so that you
Yeah.
win, um, it's really hard. And I
Yeah.
remember when they like call your name up, you're kind of like looking at the other girls like I'm really sorry, but I'm also so excited.
Of
And it was
course.
honestly just like the biggest breath of fresh air. I felt like for all of us, just being named to the team was like enough to solidify success for us. Like
Right.
if you make the Olympic team, you
Yeah.
can call yourself an Olympian forever,
Exactly.
but if you don't even get there, that's like that's the hardest part. So being named was like the best part of the entire experience.
Of course. And you were what, 15? Did they give you like a year to prep for it?
No. So this is the other really brutal part about gymnastics. So most US or most Olympic sports and teams are named at least like 3 to 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
The United States gymnastics women's team is named 3 weeks ahead of time.
3 weeks.
Yeah. So you fly directly there after you get named.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got some girls who were really like, all right, 3 weeks, I'm going to be in Tokyo competing. And then they're like, no, you're not, because you didn't make the team. And
Yeah.
now you're just going back home
So
and you're going back to school.
the process is pretty brutal if I'm backtracking a little bit. So if the Olympics are usually in like July or August, our selection process starts in January with we do 5 lead up competitions. And those lead up competitions end up giving you the final bucket that they choose from, which is about 10 girls. So you start at 24, you go down to 20, you go down to 16, you go down to 10.
Hmm.
That final 10 goes to the final selection,
Yeah.
which is like this hidden camp where
Right.
they say, okay, you 4 are going.
Okay. So you got 3 weeks to
Yeah.
prep.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to know what the Olympic Village is like, because I've heard a lot of stories, and you were obviously super young
Yeah.
there. I heard the Olympic Village is just wild. I heard it's just like a big party. I don't
From
know.
what
I think
from
I
what
heard
I've been
that.
told.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
probably. Did you stay there, or were you in like a hotel down the road?
So most gymnasts don't stay there. For some
Yeah,
reason, our year in Beijing, they let us stay there, which was amazing.
yeah,
I was like a giddy kid in the village because it was just so like magnificent. I don't know. Just
yeah.
there were so many athletes, and you would see Nadal, and you would see Yao Ming, and you would see like all of these amazing athletes just walking around. We definitely had a different experience than what you read about
Right.
because we were all 16. We had armed guards with us because we were minors living in the village. And we like weren't allowed to leave our apartments without chaperones, without our coaches, without our like national governing body presidents. So we had no freedom in the village.
Yeah.
So, but I hear it's wild.
I think I heard from like Ryan Lochte
Oh, of
that he
course.
said like they
Of
just had
course.
like bowls of condoms out everywhere in the village.
They
Like,
say they
just
give out more free condoms at the Olympic Village than any sporting event
that's
ever.
wild.
I mean, we had no part in that.
Yeah. How long is the whole from start to end of the Olympics when you're in the village? A few weeks?
We were there. I think we were there 4 weeks.
Okay, so it's a long time.
It's like we go a week and a half or 2 weeks beforehand all the way through.
Okay. And are you with the do they put the gymnasts in one building? So you see like girls from Russia, or they're like, no, we're gonna keep
That'd
you
be
guys
brutal. Yeah.
away.
So
Yeah.
you're actually housed by country, which is really fun.
Okay, that's cool.
So each apartment complex building is designated for different countries. And one of my favorite things I remember as a kid looking out, like we had these balconies, and they do it at every Olympics, is if you look at the buildings from like the street, every single room hangs a flag off of their balcony, like the flag they're representing.
Yeah,
And you'll just see like whole buildings that have the American flag and whole buildings that have the Chinese flag. And it's really it's a really cool cultural experience.
that's amazing. Sam Cat, how close were you to making it to the village?
0% close. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I did gymnastics for 20 years and I
That's
was,
huge.
no. Yeah, I mean, I went to college. It paid for my education.
Oh, amazing.
I did it all the way up through until like, it's time to retire.
What
There was
college?
Central Michigan University,
Yeah.
fire up chips.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, when Shawn was making the Olympic team at 12, I was deciding that I'm going to be a collegiate gymnast at 12. Like truly, it is a very young
Mhm.
sport. Like she said, I mean, I trained for 4-ish hours a
Mhm.
day after school every day. I went to public school as well. I did get early release because I didn't have to go to PE. Hey.
Yep.
Nice.
Because, when you can climb the rope without your legs and beat all the boys in push-up
Yes.
contests, they let you skip PE. It's a great little program they
Yeah.
have. I mean, there are a lot of similarities. I feel
Mhm.
like it's still gymnastics, but by no means did I have a career like Shawn. And I will never pretend like I did.
What would you do to prepare, like the night before you're in the village? You're like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to be doing this in front of the entire world. Do you get any sleep? Do you have the same routine that you do in your head, or what's that like?
Yes. Again, you have to remember that being 16, a lot of our success was being able to harness this idea of us still being children.
Right.
Like we loved gymnastics and we loved playing in the gymnastics world. But then when our minds would kind of switch over to that professional athlete side, we did a lot of like sports psychology training. I'd say 99% of it was just mental training when we got to that level. We would go through, or I would go through personally, like different. What I always did was like the night before, I would barely sleep. I could not sleep
Yeah.
before competition.
Yeah.
But my coach always taught me that if I get nervous, I would close my eyes and I would walk through every second of the competition. What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What am I seeing when I walk into the arena? What am I listening to if I have like music in? I would feel the mats beneath like my feet. I would be feeling the beam. I would be seeing where the judges are. And it's just like you're walking through this motion so that by the time you walk into the arena and it's real, it's almost like your body's done it a
Hmm.
100 times. And
Hmm.
I remember the night before competition, I would just go through it a million times.
It's wild.
What is if you can think back, like, is there a routine that sticks out to you that you were just the most nervous for? Or like something that still sticks out to you to this day that you're just like, I remember like right before I was about to salute, like what was going through your head? Or that just kind of all blurs together at this point?
No, I mean, I can remember.
She's like, I actually know the exact time.
Yeah, I remember almost all of my routines. I can tell you what I did right and wrong just because I analyzed my sport that much. I literally give seminars on this one performance, so I'll try to like summarize it. We talked about my strategy in gymnastics was being an all-arounder. I was the world champion in the all-around. That's kind of like how I trained. And going into the Olympics during the all-around competition, it was down to Nastia and I. Like we were always 1 and 2. And I was the very last person to compete on the very last event, which is always hard. But I'm also like a math person, so I was like tracking people's scores
Mhm.
and I was watching one by one as like people went through their moves and got their scores. And leading up to Nastia, I still had like leeway that I could win the all around competition. I remember she went up and I was hoping she'd like wobble a little bit or like step out
Yeah,
of
of
bounds.
course.
I'm still coming second
Have
for
a
the
heart
US.
attack.
Yeah. And she gave like a flawless performance. And I remember walking up to do my performance, which was last. And I was looking at the scoreboard. And the way it works at the Olympics is like Nastia's name is still on this like massive board. And when her score pops up, a 30-second timer starts counting down.
Mhm.
And that tells me that I have 30 seconds to start my performance. Like the judges are ready. And if you don't start within those 30 seconds, you get disqualified from the competition, which is wild. But But what that told me is like I have 30 seconds to calculate if I still had a chance.
Yeah.
And I remember her score came up and I quickly did the calculations and I couldn't get a high enough score to win. And that was the most like internally conflicted I've ever felt going into a performance, because up until that moment at the
Right.
Olympics, I had been doing it for my country.
Mhm.
And I knew that Bob Costas was already telling the world through commentary that
Yeah. Costas.
Shawn can't win the gold medal. She's like failed or whatever. And I just knew, everybody knew already. And I remember thinking to myself, like, do I even go out and perform if what the world has expected of me is not possible? And I was thinking this at 16. And I remember
Yeah.
like, yeah, which is wild. But I remember looking at my coach who stands in the same place during the same, like, during all competitions, and he was unfazed. And he just kind of gave me the nod that he always did. And I was like, okay. And I remember thinking this verbatim. I was like, if you can't win the gold medal, at least go out and show the world that you deserved it. Don't know how I thought of that at 16. And I remember that being my favorite performance I've ever given in my entire life. For the first time, I didn't feel pressure because I thought I had failed everyone. So I only did it for myself. And it was the most free I've ever felt in my entire life. It was like the easiest. If you've ever done a floor routine, you feel like you're dying. It's like doing the incline as fast as you can.
Yeah.
While smiling.
Yeah. While smiling.
And,
In a leotard.
In a leotard. Don't pick your wedgie.
And I felt like I could have like gone on for hours. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And for you to
I loved
process
it.
all of that at that age is
Yeah.
impressive.
So I came in second and I loved it.
That's
I could have
amazing.
cared less.
That's so cool.
Coming in second, I was more proud than I had ever been because I had done the best performance of my
Sure.
life. But it was funny moving after that, getting the silver medal. You know, you move into the press circuit, and I remember every single person for 3 hours was, how does it feel to fail? Are you going to come back in 2012? What did you do wrong? It was just like, it was the validation of failure.
Yeah.
And it was really conflicting at 16 trying to figure out,
That makes me
I
emotional.
feel so proud, and you guys are just stripping that from me.
Mhm.
And they're
So-
grown adults asking a 16-year-old girl that.
But in that scenario, you can't blame a journalist for asking a 16-year-old girl, because at that time you're a professional athlete.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's a good point there. And then what about the balance beam though? Because that's got to be, I think that's the hardest event. Like sometimes, I mean, I have trouble walking on the sidewalk without tripping over myself. And you're
Same.
doing flips and cartwheels, round offs. Do we still do round offs? Is that a
Shawn
thing?
Johnson
Yeah.
was not doing cartwheels in the Olympic Games, Sean Booth.
Yeah, probably not. But the balance beam,
Yeah.
that's your best, or was as
It was
far
my
as the
best, yeah.
medals. Yeah.
I loved the beam. Going back to when I was 2 and I started gymnastics, I fell in love with the trampoline because it made me feel like I could fly.
Yeah.
It made me feel invincible. I was like this horribly shy kid my entire life, like painfully shy. But I felt like a superwoman when I went into the gymnastics gym. And I loved being able to feel that. And I think flipping on a 4-inch beam kind of like reinforced that. And so I just felt, I loved the challenge of it.
Yeah.
And I loved people's reactions to it. And I loved feeling like I was achieving something that people thought was impossible.
Right.
And I had a phenomenal coach who was really good at beam, and it was just kind of my thing. And I remember going into the final, which was the very last day of the Olympics. And it was after I had gotten 3 silver medals back to back to back.
You're like,
So I still hadn't gotten the gold.
yeah.
And I went into the training hall, which is like where you warm up. And it was the worst day I'd ever had training, like warming up for competition. I fell on every single like warm up skill that I did. I was just out of it. I had been so drained, and I was at the end of my rope, and I was just like, I was done with the press. I was done
Wasn't
with
beam
everything.
last too? Like the very last
Very
day?
last day,
I
very last
remember this.
competition.
Yeah.
And I was just done. Like my body was shutting
Yeah.
down. And I remember my coach doing everything in his power to snap me out of it. Just every technique. And if you know my coach, he's the most gentle human being in the I've ever met on the face of the earth.
Is he the guy with the mustache? I'm thinking
No
Carrie.
mustache.
I'm thinking Carrie Strug's
You're
trainer.
thinking
Carrie
Carrie
Bella
Strikes.
Caroli.
Mine is Chow. He's just this gentle Chinese man.
Yeah.
And he's the best. He's literally like my second dad. And it was the first time in my entire career in front of everybody. Like we had been warming up for probably 2 hours, and it was almost time to go out. And he screamed at me, like, just like, snap the F up, like, figure this out.
Yeah.
And I
You're
remember
like, yes,
it
sir.
was literally, it was
Let's
like the
go.
biggest wake up call. And I went running into the arena. I don't even remember like what I was thinking, but I went through the motions. It was not my best routine. Like, I know this for a fact. It was not my best routine. But I finished it, and my coach looked at me and he just giggled. And he's like, okay. And we like turned and looked at the scoreboard, and there was a number 1 by my name.
That's
And
incredible.
we were like, all righty, we did it.
And
And
then-
it like haunts him to this day, though. He thought he ruined our relationship just trying to like give me that moment. And I was like, I forgot about it within
Yeah.
a second.
You're
I
like,
needed it.
I gotta go
The gold medal kind
Yeah.
of overshadowed it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
What was standing on the podium? Who was next to you? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, who cares? Screw them. That doesn't matter.
I was so
Yeah.
tired. I do remember, I think Nassar was next to me, and I think one of the Chinese girls was next to me. Shawn, I think was her name. But I do remember going into the press circuit after that one. And because I knew it wasn't my best performance, I was like, oh, what are they going to like annoyingly talk about this time? And it was just praise after praise after praise. And I was so annoyed by it. I was like, now you praise me.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you had a number 1 next to it now.
I know.
course.
And it like reframed how I looked at life
Yeah.
as a 16-year-old. But I was like, this is a bunch of crap.
Yeah, absolutely. So then it's over. And at that point, your life has completely changed now. What was
Yeah.
that transition trying to
Ugh.
get back to normalcy, which
So it didn't happen. I had accepted, I was going to Stanford on a medical, my dream was to be an orthopedic surgeon, which is comical, talking
Yeah.
about our issues. So I was planning on finishing up my senior year and going to Stanford. But I went back to high school for one day and got so bombarded that they had to bring in security officers and pull me out of school. I wasn't able to finish my senior year at school at all. I had to do a private tutor. I wasn't allowed to walk through graduation because they thought it was going to be too much of a distraction.
Wait,
and
that's so sad.
it was, but it also
but also she's like, I got a gold medal.
it was a derailment for me because I liked education almost better than gymnastics. Again, if you like read my baby books and stuff, I wanted to be a doctor my whole life. That was it. I shadowed open heart surgeries when I was a freshman in high school. I worked at the hospital randomly. Yeah, I loved it. I lived for it. And so the derailment of like not being able to go back to school really was hard for me. But I ended up finishing and worked as a broadcaster and went on to do like the gamut of circuits and tried to make a comeback in 2012, ended up retiring and worked for the Today Show and met in a very roundabout way. I met my husband instead. So transferred to Vandy. And
there you go. Which is way
still
better.
not
than
a doctor.
Yeah, still not a doctor. Maybe one day.
Oh,
Don't give up
no.
on that yet.
I actually thought about becoming like a paramedic. And Andrew's
Yeah.
like, you're gonna ride around in an ambulance? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you got some
Why
guy who
not?
just got hit by a car. He's in the back. He's like, is that Shawn Johnson?
I'm like, I got you. I got
Yeah,
you.
hang on. Yeah, because I got to imagine for a lot of athletes, with that being their entire life, their entire identity, and I feel like Michael Phelps has talked about this, like the depression coming off of that. Did you experience any depression?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
big
of
time.
it. I mean, you have to think too, if anybody obsesses over anything, the balance and the scale kind of gets tipped. And for me, I led a pretty like balanced life. My parents worked really hard to do that. My coach, coming from China where things were very like imbalanced for him, he still encouraged me to go to prom and to go to like football games, and I would leave like gymnastics class early to go get Dairy Queen, and he would love this. He like wanted me to be a normal kid. So I felt like I had the greatest chance for success, but I still obsessed so much about my career that when it was over, I didn't know how to function as a human being.
Right,
I didn't know how to eat breakfast because I wasn't going to go to the gym.
right,
I didn't know how to work out in a gym, like not a gymnastics gym, like a fitness facility.
right.
I didn't know how to get on a treadmill. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
And I didn't know how to operate without my coach. My coach strategized my entire life. And now that I didn't have him, I just felt very lost as a human. And then since I didn't have school, I also didn't have like my backup plan, which was really odd.
hmm
And I got very lost for many years until I crashed on a ski slope and hit rock bottom because I tore every ligament in my knee. And I was like, okay, the only thing I can remember making me happy is gymnastics, so I'm going to go back. And I didn't really want to, but it's just the like my it was my last ditch effort, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And so how are you involved today with gymnastics? Now
Like
you
not at
have
all.
not at all. You have little kids,
I do.
and obviously I'm sure a lot of people ask you, are they going to do gymnastics? Do
Mm.
you want them doing gymnastics? And I know you've come out and publicly said that the USA Olympics kind of let down a lot of
Mhm.
kids and a lot of people, right? With the whole Larry Nassar terrible situation.
Mhm.
Is that something that you see going in the right direction now for the US and something that you feel comfortable with your kids doing?
Yes. So because of the fallout of USA Gymnastics, I always kind of took a step away from gymnastics. I didn't want to be a coach. I think kind of had my fill. And so I would still be involved in the sport by mentoring or doing like clinics, but truly having fun with it. Nothing serious. And then when the fallout happened, I just kind of walked away. I really didn't want to be associated or a part of it. Larry was my doctor. I walked away unscathed, but he was my doctor for 20 years. So it was a really, really hard time for our entire sport. And I will say, up until, what was it, February this year, I really didn't know where gymnastics stood, USA Gymnastics. And I wasn't super hopeful, but I took my daughter to her first competition, not where she was competing, but like to just watch. And I got to meet the entire new board, the new president, the new system, and got to kind of sit back and watch it all play out. And it was the most encouraged I've been in a really, really long time. It was the first time
Right.
I thought, if for any reason my daughter ends up in the sport,
Yeah.
I would be proud to see her work under these people. They were phenomenal. And it made me really emotional even at the competition because I was
Yeah, of
like,
course.
we haven't had that in so long. So it was really special. And to answer your question, yes, my daughter is in gymnastics. Um I don't know why. And she loves it. It's one of those like there aren't many things you can do with kids under the age of 2, but
Right.
gymnastics is one of them. And I think it's a phenomenal sport when it comes to recreational gymnastics or like recreational levels for young kids.
Yeah.
It teaches them coordination and body
Yeah.
awareness and strength. And of course, she's done that. She's done dance and she's done soccer already. And she loves gymnastics. And so much so that the coach is even like, we need to put her in the 5-year-old class. And I'm like, get out. I don't want to have this conversation with you. No.
That's got to
Oh,
be wild to sit back and watch, right? I mean,
it
you
is.
see parts of yourself in her, and like even just with like mannerisms and movements on the gymnastics floor.
Honestly, I don't watch her enough.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard for me to go into the gymnastics gym when she's like training and
Yeah.
watch her.
Yeah.
One, because I don't ever want her, even from a young age, to to remember back years prior of like, oh, my mommy sat through every single class and she like I don't want her to feel pressure from me at all. And it's really hard for me to go into a gymnastics gym without drawing the attention away from her and it like parents coming up to me or coaches coming up to me to talk about gymnastics.
Yeah.
It's kind of the world that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so I don't go as often as I should, but I do remember I'll go into the gym with her and play around. And I will never forget. It's like a core memory now. We were on the trampoline and I was like, Drew, do you want mommy to show you something? And
She's like, no, thanks.
she literally was like, no, mama, sit down. Let me show
I
you.
got
And I
it.
was like, okay, this is
Yeah.
amazing. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's so cool.
She still talks about how daddy taught her to do a handstand.
Nice.
And I'm like, awesome.
I'm sure he loves that.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If she gets daddy's height, she probably won't be on the balance beam.
Which she will. She's
Yeah.
massive.
Is
Both
she?
my kids are. Yeah.
99 percentile.
Yes. Or way above.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, because I got to imagine too, if you're going to these practices for your kid, you probably have parents coming up to you and being like, "Hey, what do you think about my girl over there?"
Uh-huh.
Wait,
I
people
do.
really do that?
Oh, all the time. All the
A
time.
gym parent will never cease to surprise me.
Never. And
Gym
I
parents
mean,
are crazy.
I understand it because parents truly just want to give their kids the greatest opportunity of success possible.
Sure.
But a lot of parents cross this line of not being able to realize that success can only happen if a kid loves something
Mhm.
because they're children. They don't know how to like switch their mind over to business. And they won't know that until they're in their 20s or 30s. And so when parents are like, where do I need to take them? Or what do I need to do for them to succeed? It's really hard for me because I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all.
You can't want it more than they do.
And if you do, it's not going to work.
Whew,
And I deal with that a lot. And it's really hard.
Is there anything that now that you're obviously removed from it and you're not competing that you look back on your career and you're just like, wow, okay, so I don't know how to ask this question, but I'm just thinking like he's talking about how you were great on beam. Obviously, you're a gold medalist. But how old are you?
31.
31. So I'm 32. We're like similar in age. And I remember obviously when you went to the Olympics, I was going to college. Obviously, as a gymnast, we're going to be glued to the TV for every single rotation, every country, everything. And I remember the reason or one of the reasons you stuck out to me is because you were one of the first gymnasts to use beam. Like it looked like you were on floor. And so at the time, and I mean, I don't know if I need to explain that more, but like before Shawn existed, beam was like so like very dance heavy, very leaps and turns and arabesques and like and it's obviously morphed over time, but now you watch someone like Simone Biles who's also tumbling like it is the floor, but you were the first. Is that something that you knew at the time, or is it something that now that you're removed you're like, wow, I really was the first? You're welcome, Simone.
Yes, so I did know it.
Okay.
There were a lot of challenges that came with that.
Sure.
If you picture gymnastics, there are two different types of athletes, basically. There's a Nastia Lukin. You think very tall, very lean, very flexible, very dancer-like. And then there's a Simone Biles, very like powerhouse.
Or you. You guys
or
were
myself.
1 and 2 back and forth, you said. Like you guys were each.
But in 2008, I introduced a new style of gymnastics that hadn't been used before. And the challenges that came with that was trying to... Gymnastics is a subjective sport. So when you look at track and field, if someone crosses the finish line first, there's a video replay that can verify who wins and who loses. In gymnastics, there's a margin that's legally allowed, for a judge to say, I just don't like your style. And so I can deduct that because it's technically artistic gymnastics. It's subjective by opinion. And in my era, which is wild to think about, the challenges that I was faced with was trying to get an old school system to adopt a new style and subjectively like it. And that was hard, which we were totally aware of. But I was not a Nastia Lukin, and I wasn't capable of being that. So I had to embrace my own style. And it worked sometimes, and it didn't work other times because more old school styles of judges were kind of like, this is not where I want the sport to go. And it was a lot of fun though. It's really cool to watch now and see people like Simone be able to just thrive because of that year, which is really cool.
You were the first person that I was like, oh, I can look like me and be like me and still be a successful gymnast. And I didn't know if that was something that like came to you later or you knew it.
I only knew it because of the challenges that came with it. But I also remember having that same moment, and this might sound silly to even say, but I idolized Serena Williams because of that.
Hell yeah.
She always embraced how powerful she was as a woman. And I knew I was different from day one within the sport because I did different things. And I remember reading articles about Serena, and I was like, okay, I want to be a little bit more like her.
And it's okay to be a powerful woman. And it's okay. And you can, like, I mean, obviously the success Serena's had, astronomical.
Yeah, she's
a little bit of success for Serena. I feel like if there was a Mount Rushmore of U.S. gymnastics, you'd be on there.
Oh, thank you.
And then, not to put you on the spot, but who do you think would be next to you?
Simone. Well, I can't even put myself next to Simone. Simone is by far, and I've said this before and I will stand by it, I think she's the greatest gymnast our sport will ever see in the history of the sport.
I agree.
So she's like the Michael Jordan, once in a lifetime.
It's really hard for people who don't understand the sport to see it.
Yeah.
But people will match her. People will now, like, the bar has been set higher, that people will come in and do her skills and do gymnastics like her. But to see Simone come into a world and a time when she competed, she was competing at a level that is 30 years advanced that we haven't seen before.
In what way? So for like me who wouldn't understand that.
Mhm. So it would be, I don't even know like the comparisons, but what's the fastest marathon right now? Like usually when
Sub 2 is what
yeah.
they were going for in like the Nike campaign.
But
2 hours.
when newcomers come into the marathon and they try to beat it, they usually beat it by a couple seconds.
Yeah.
1 second, 2 second, a few seconds, 30 seconds. It'd be like Simone coming in and beating it by 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
she's so far advanced that the rule books of gymnastics had to be rewritten because of
How
her
good
level
she
of
is.
difficulty.
Right.
And if you were to look back when she first competed, the discrepancy and difference between the men's rule book and the women's,
Hmm.
the men compete such higher difficulty than women do because they're 20 to 30-year-old men who have just a physiological difference than 16-year-old women and are stronger and able to do higher like level skills. If you looked at the best US or the best gymnasts in the entire world in the women's category, they might have been like dabbling in 1 or 2 men's skills.
Hmm.
Simone only used the men's book.
Okay.
She didn't compete women's gymnastics. She competed men's gymnastics in a feminine, beautiful way
Right.
that our sport has never seen before. And it, as a gymnast, my jaw was on the floor watching her.
You didn't give me your Mount Rushmore. You
Oh,
got Simone, you.
No, I don't think I would put myself on there. I don't know.
I'm putting you on there.
I
I'll
can
give
put
you
my-
mine.
okay.
I'll go.
Okay, you do yours.
You, Simone, and this is strictly from just a guy watching on the couch.
Great.
Carrie Strug. I feel
Okay.
like that's just I don't know her besides that iconic moment.
Great.
Right? Like I feel like, but when you think women's gymnastics, you think of Carrie.
Can I tell you a story about Carrie?
Yes,
About
absolutely.
that moment that
Yeah.
nobody knows?
Yeah.
So, you know how she does, do you know that they do 2 vaults? So she
No.
vaulted once and she walked
Oh
back
yes, and she
vaults
did it again. Yeah.
So she actually broke her leg on the first one.
And then did it
Mhm.
again, stuck the landing.
Yep.
And that's when the guy with the mustache carried her off.
Bella Caroli.
Yes.
Yes.
That should be a statue
Yeah.
somewhere.
How many
that's
heads?
amazing.
4?
That's you,
Is
Simone.
it 4 or 5?
5, right? A Mount Rushmore? Yeah, I think it's 4. Okay. All
Let
right.
me-
So I need one more.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go strictly for aesthetic purposes and go Michaela with her little
Maroney.
smirk. Just like just at the end with her little smirk, which was so iconic.
Also,
I feel like trending
yeah.
all over the world before like trending became a thing.
And Michaela was was so incredibly talented.
Yeah,
She, yeah, so incredibly talented.
that's awesome.
My
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore then would be Mary Lou Retton. Do you know who that is?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say the silence.
I would say Mary Lou Retton, Kim Zmeskal.
I don't know who that is
I
either.
know. It's okay. It's just like
Yeah,
historical.
I'll take your word for it.
Simone, who's someone in between there. I'm not putting myself. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I would say Nastia, just going across different styles.
Okay. Sam,
Mary Lou Retton.
who's this Mary Lou girl?
Mary Lou Retton was the first woman in the 1980 Olympics to win the all-around gold medal.
She was like crowned the first title of America's Sweetheart.
She was on Wheaties boxes.
Perfect 10, yeah. You would
Okay.
recognize her if you saw her.
What if you put her in today's game up against Simone?
Oh no,
No chance.
That's not even.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's also
We're just going historic. Yeah. All right. So you
that's-
got Mary Lou.
You can't compare the two. Yeah, Mary Lou, Dominique Mucciano, who was in the 96, that I was saying the Magnificent Seven. And I'd say Shawn and then Simone.
Okay. And Dominique, what's her last name?
Mucciano.
Mucciano.
Okay. What about Allie?
Allie's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She's got to be up there.
Oh,
Mhm.
wait. Yeah, I switched Dominique
Yeah.
for Allie, actually.
I would put her there if there
Can
were
I do that?
5.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I chisel a different
Yeah. We can do
face?
5.
Okay, cool.
I'll throw Allie in
No.
there as well.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm replacing. I'm switching.
Have you met Allie?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I have not. But I feel like she's been like a very strong voice
Yeah.
for the Olympics,
Oh, yeah.
for the gymnasts,
Yes.
and just for women in general.
she opened the door for everybody, which was amazing.
That's incredible. All right. We're going to have some fun here. We're going to do our final 4 right now. Final four. We've got 2 different Final Fours we're going to do. All right.
Great.
First one, we're going to do what 4 sports in the Olympics would you compete in
Mhm.
outside of gymnastics? We'll give our 4. It could be just a sport you want to compete in or you think you'd be good at.
Okay.
All right. And then after that, we're going to do 4 things that you think should be in the Olympics that you're really good at. Could be something completely random, but you're like, if that was in the Olympics, I'd get another gold medal. All right.
Okay.
So
For
number
the
4, we'll go around the room. So from your least out of the 4 to your best chance of winning a gold medal.
of things that aren't in.
No, we'll do sports first.
Oh, I don't think I would win in any of these.
Okay.
That's
But-
exactly what I said. And Sean's
Um,
like, you were a gymnast. And I'm like, it doesn't translate
No.
all the time, my
All right, this
friend.
is what you want to
I-
compete in. Number 4.
I would say I've been to an Olympic Taekwondo event and it was incredible.
Taekwondo.
I would love that.
Okay.
Love that.
All right. That's a good
I
one.
feel like that could
Fun.
translate, like body awareness and skill
Sure.
and stuff. She's like,
Sure.
sure, yeah, for sure.
Sam Cat, your number 4?
My number 4 would be curling. I took my first curling lesson
Yeah.
recently, and let me tell you, it was not bad.
It's a popular one. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, the US guys put that on the map for sure. We got a curling bar right down the road.
That's where I took the practice thing.
Yeah,
You
it's
can like
awesome.
go and pay, and they give you like a legit lesson.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm competitive, so I was like trying to learn technique and like it's balance and sliding on the ice. And if you don't have core control, you can't do it. And I was like, hold my
Yeah.
beer.
Okay. I'm going badminton, number 4.
Nice.
I feel like badminton, you can only get that. What do they even call the thing that they hit? The birdie,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
thing can only go so fast. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I could keep up, and that's something if you worked at your whole life. I feel like there's not the competition pool is probably pretty slim.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, yeah. I
Mhm.
I think it starts slim and it gets slimmer.
Yeah. Number 3.
These are because I like them.
Yeah.
I will never win a medal in them. Table tennis.
Okay. Ping pong.
It's so intense.
Intense.
They stand like a mile behind the
It's
table.
wild. Like they stand from this far from that
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. And that
I
sucker's
bet you
going like
I bet you would. You're really good at everything. You'd probably
No,
do good at
no, I
ping
couldn't.
pong.
I'm obsessive. So like I would take
Figure
it
it
seriously
out.
and train,
Yeah.
but I still wouldn't be able to do well in it.
What about if you were going against Andrew? Can you beat
Andrew
him?
would win.
Okay, of course.
I know. Andrew's good at
Yeah.
ping pong, table tennis.
All
Don't
right.
ever say ping pong in the Olympics though.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I feel guilty just saying it right now.
Yeah.
In front of you. Table tennis. All right. Table tennis. Sam Cat, number 3.
Well, table tennis was my number 3 as well. Just because I would never win a medal, but I would love to have that kind of hand-eye coordination. I dream of being able to have hand-eye coordination in general, but those people. So I guess maybe I'll just switch mine to like regular tennis
Okay. Regular
Oh, wow.
tennis.
in the court. Like
Wow.
I would love to be, little Serena vibes. I
Yeah.
look great in a tennis skirt. Hell yeah.
There we go.
Pow.
Why not? I don't look great in the tennis skirt, so I'm
Hey,
gonna
don't knock
go
it till you
with
try it.
the 100-meter sprint is my number 3.
Sick.
It's a short enough distance where you don't look too bad if you're falling behind. I think I'm pretty good at sprinting in a straight line, and I feel like also if I'm looking for brand deals, it's a lot of FaceTime on the TV.
Oh
You got-
my God.
Usain Bolt. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And I would do like a signature pose like him or something cool, even
Great.
if I came in last place. And I like their outfits, the blue and the white.
They always have sick
They do.
outfits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2.
I would do soccer.
Nice.
Women's soccer.
What position?
I don't know. I don't even know
All
the
right.
positions.
We'll throw you in center mid.
The one that runs.
Great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Soccer.
My number, what are we, 2?
2.
My number 2 is definitely going to be pole vaulting.
Ooh.
I think there's some correlation between gymnastics and pole vaulting.
Most pole vaulters are former gymnasts.
Yes, because I do think it's a lot of like, again, I'm very amateur. I've never pole vaulted a day in my life, but it's a lot of like technique, body awareness, like air awareness, and knowing where you're at and where to shoot your toes and squeeze your
Yeah.
butt and move around, and shares a lot of similarities to gymnastics. So I feel like, and it would be thrilling because it's essentially another sport where you get to like fake fly, which like
Right.
Sean has been saying all day, like jumping on a trampoline and being able to fly is.
Got to be one of the most dangerous ones in the Olympics. That fall is pretty long.
I just don't understand what happens if you don't make it over. Like if you go up and you shoot your toes too high up into the ceiling and you fall back onto the track.
Have you ever seen when
The stick goes.
when the sticks break?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to watch those before I start my training, but yeah, that's my number 2.
All right. My number 2, I got sailing.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't have
Great.
to have much skill to do that, right? You got to have
You
a
just
really
have
good
to
a good
control a
boat.
boat.
Yeah, and you're just going left to right and just wrapping a rope around.
Have you ever been sailing?
No, I
Do you
haven't
know
been
how hard that
sailing.
is?
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I feel like I can figure it out though. If I started at 4 years old, do they have sailors at 4 years old?
Probably.
Throw on a life vest. I did see a documentary on it. That's probably why. It's a good one on Netflix.
That's
and
your
it was like,
inspiration.
yeah, I think it was the Olympics. It was one of the biggest upsets ever. They did. No, what's the race? Alex, you want to look that up for me? There's a Netflix special sailing. It's 2 countries, and one country always kicks the other country's ass. But this time, it was like Miracle on Ice, basically. Let me know if you find that.
True movie about it. You watched a documentary about it, you said?
Yeah, it's a documentary.
The one in Australia?
That might be it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Let me find the name of it.
Either way, I feel like sailing is one that
Great.
you can learn.
Great.
Yeah, you can sail on a boat, work on your tan.
So let me get this straight. Your other one was because you wanted to have FaceTime and brand deals, and this one's because you're working on your tan on the boat.
Correct.
Wow, you are a dedicated athlete, my friend.
Yeah.
Very dedicated. I see
Yeah.
where your head's at.
Work smarter, not harder.
I get it.
All right,
Number
number one.
I am going to transition to Winter Olympics instead of summer.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
love to do women's ice hockey.
Ooh,
That looks
That'd be cool.
so awesome.
yeah. Anything on the ice, I find very fascinating.
Yeah.
Like Apollo Ono,
He's incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
Have you ever played ice hockey?
I haven't played ice hockey. My dad was a hockey player. So
Okay. Roller
I can
hockey.
ice skate.
Yeah.
I've never played hockey.
All right. Ever.
I've ice skated. That's it.
What about figure skating?
No.
Is there any translation with that? With gymnastics?
You have to think my personal experience in gymnastics.
Yeah.
I am the girl that jumps out of planes and wants to play hockey.
Yeah.
I was not the feminine dancer gymnast.
Yeah.
So transitioning to figure skating, I'm like, no, thank you.
Okay.
I'd rather put on pads
All right.
or play soccer.
Retweet.
Yeah, I see that.
Retweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sam Dog, number one.
You know, as we've been going around the circle, I've been thinking about what my strengths actually are, and I should have picked all different sports. But I do have to say, my number one is going to be women's sand volleyball.
Sick.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one. I like watching that one
First
too.
of all,
You know how hard that is?
I was going to say, first of all, have you ever
Yeah.
tried it? Because
You can
you
barely
want to talk.
walk and
You want to
sing.
talk about being tired at the end of a floor routine. I hit the volleyball once and I sink into the sand and I'm winded for the next 20 minutes. Those girls are in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I've
And it's
also
been the 2 girls. Carrie, is that the other one?
Yeah.
And
Carrie Walsh
yeah.
And Misty May.
Missy,
Yeah.
yeah.
They
Since,
kill it.
Since I feel like my
Forever.
whole life. Yeah.
Yeah.
No longer though.
No?
No.
Do we got a new team
I
coming up in
think-
the ranks?
I think Carrie might still be playing, but Misty's out
Okay.
or retired. Or I
I have
think
no idea.
I don't know.
That
don't know.
is such a cool sport.
I just find them fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a different level of athleticism that I would love to accomplish, but I'm
Yeah.
past my prime, so I don't know.
That's a good one.
What's your number one?
My number one, and this is something that I want to do, and I am going to try and do this one day, but I am going with dog sledding.
Sick.
Yeah. And I have a lifetime goal of competing in the Iditarod. I'm going to move to Alaska. I'm gonna train for a year. I'm gonna
Okay.
find dogs. I think I need 12 of them. I'm gonna bring Walter with me.
Is he going to be part of it?
He's
Poor guy
gonna-
would die.
Yeah.
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 She says
He
no.
can't- No,
Yeah, I don't
no,
know. His
he's
short
not
legs, I
made
don't
for
think
it.
he can make it very far. He's going to be on the sled with me.
Exactly.
He's going to be like the lead dog, the captain of the team.
What's the rower
The
rowing?
coxswain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be Walter. And I'm going to go all out. I'm going to sleep outside in the kennels with my dogs.
Of course you are.
I'm going to live off the land.
Yeah.
And just,
You know they're actually meant to do that though. Humans are not.
yeah, I know, but I
Okay.
want to try and build that team camaraderie.
Great.
And everybody's gonna be like, holy crap, this dude's just
He believes in me.
I'm gonna grow my beard out to my chest and just do that for a year.
Great.
The Iditarod. And I think the Iditarod is we're gonna have to fire up that Google machine again. How long is the Iditarod? That's something that doesn't get
Iditarod
enough
is
attention.
Roughly 1,000 miles.
Oh.
1,000 miles.
And
Think
that
about
sailing
those
race you're talking
dogs.
about.
I
Are
know.
you kidding?
1,000 miles.
Are they
That sailing race
huskies?
you're talking about is the America's Cup, I think.
America's Cup.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
was the Australia 2 was the team that won that. Anyways, but yeah, I did rides about 1,000 miles.
Is it Huskies, Malinois, or not
Yeah.
Malinois, Malamutes?
There's 2 types of dogs they use. I believe I looked into it. I was
Of
like, where
course.
can I go and like, because I have to get dogs, but I don't want to buy. I don't think I buy them all because I'm not going to be able to take them back home with me. But there's got to
Could
be
you
like,
imagine? You would have to bring them home.
I-
You're gonna go out and train with them for a year.
yeah, I'm not going to want to
fall in
leave
love with
them.
them, and then just be
Yeah.
like, "Thanks for your time."
Yeah. Was it Huskies?
Yeah, Huskies and Malamutes.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
And I
right.
think there's 12 of them. So Walter would be number 13.
Walter would weigh it down.
He would weigh it down. That would be a problem. But mark my words, I will.
What if
I
he
will
had
win
his
the
own
Iditarod.
sled next to yours? Just
And-
hire him 2 Malamutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get him working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also don't know if if he's conditioned enough to live in that weather.
Are you?
No, I mean,
You're talking about getting your suntan on.
yeah, that's true. I'm going from both ends of the spectrum. Sam Cat, have you ever gone dog sledding?
Yes, I have. Actually, I just went dog sledding like a month ago.
Yeah, how was that?
It was actually beautiful. I went in where did I go? Canmore, Alberta, Canada.
Alberta. is a
And
great
I mean,
place.
it is impressive to see the operation that they have with the dogs, like you were saying, like they're made for it. And the guy who owns and runs the place is just, I mean, there are 140 dogs they have there, and he knows every single one of them by name. He knows their dietary preferences. They put like chicken flavoring, chicken stock in the water so they'll drink it and stay hydrated. Like they've got it down to a science.
Mhm.
And they do like 3 tours a day, morning, noon, and night. And the dogs don't. They like rotate through. The humans do that.
Yeah.
But it was quite an experience. If you ever have a chance to go dog sledding, I highly recommend.
All right. So now shifting to top 4 things that you wish were in the Olympics.
Mhm.
I'll go first. 4, rock, paper, scissors. I feel like I can beat anybody in rock, paper, scissors, any country, any person. I think that should be an Olympic sport.
So you just have the like psychology of it down.
Yeah, let's go right now.
Okay.
Ready? We're going to go rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to throw a rock.
Okay.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Wow, that was super embarrassing.
All right.
She
Yeah. I
beat
mean,
you on the
listen.
first try.
I got some things I got to work on. All right. I said she's good at everything.
That was
perfect.
It couldn't have gone worse for you, honestly.
At least I lost an Olympian.
That's
We're going to work on that. And I think you get best of 3 anyways. But
The
You're gonna
confidence you
throw
had
a
going
rock
into
and you
that.
just threw a rock.
I know. I am a second half team. I actually got really nervous and I was a mental midget in that situation right there because I wasn't originally going to throw a rock and I just went to a rock because I was nervous. You're not supposed to throw a rock first. All right. That's why it's my number 4. Your number 4?
Oh my God. The confidence you had
Um,
going into that.
This is bad. I don't even know like all the sports that are in.
Not even a sport. It could be anything. It could be like
Oh,
changing diapers or something that you
Oh.
think should be a sport.
probably.
Changing diapers?
Sure.
All right. Number 4, changing diapers.
My number 4 would be showering in a moving tour bus.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's an extreme sport. Ever shave your legs in a moving tour bus? Don't recommend it.
no.
But I do think that I've gotten the I don't know, I feel like the technique down to stay alive and stay inside the shower instead of you hit a break and end up in the lobby.
Yeah.
So I'd say number 4.
That's a good skill.
Showering and moving tour bus.
Yeah. Okay. I had number 3, just predictions in general. I think I'm pretty good at predicting
Like
things.
predicting that I'd throw a rock.
Like predicting that you were going to throw a rock.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's why it's his number 3. Don't worry.
You're so good at that. I don't know why I thought of this, but I've been on a lot of planes just traveling, and it used to be a thing that we would see how many overhead bins we could fit into.
Ooh,
I've been able to fit into majority.
really?
So, there
Wait, you
go.
physically?
Personally?
Oh yeah, they're actually roomy.
What, maybe for you.
Hey, that's
We're
why
talking about all
I
the-
That's
win.
why you'd win. You would win.
Yeah.
I'd
You're
put my
talking about
money
like
on you.
just you go on Southwest
Someone just launches you up
Airlines,
there.
and
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, let's see if you can fit in this one."
Before, like, I think it was before TSA was like super strict, but yeah, we would always do it. I don't know why.
That's the most gymnast thing I've ever heard in my life, and I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I
I
would
love
take
that.
pictures on every plane that I was in, just in an overhead compartment.
That's
That is
fantastic.
amazing.
Sign that up.
That
for the
should have been your
Olympics.
number
Is that in a winter or summer sport? Do you think?
We'll do the summer would suck,
Yeah, it'd be tough.
so let's go winter.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go winter on that.
Let's fly over Switzerland when we do it.
That's a good one.
Okay, I don't know how to top that, but I feel like my number 3?
Yeah.
My number 3 would be navigating rush hour traffic.
Ooh.
Ooh, I learned how to drive in downtown Chicago, and let me tell you, see a space, fill it, baby.
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's what they say.
I'm a pretty aggressive driver, but
Yeah.
you get there and you get there quick.
Number 2, I had a gift contest. I think I'm pretty good at sending gifts. I enjoy it, and I try and be different than other gifts, and I think I work pretty hard at it. So I think if I was sitting at a table at the Olympics and they sent me a sentence, I'd send back the best gift.
That's really sweet.
That's really sweet.
That's
yeah.
really sweet. I'm gonna add on to that.
Okay.
Wrapping
presents?
presents.
Okay. I suck at that.
Oh, I crush it.
Really?
My edges are perfect. I have the most beautiful bows.
I
I'll make my own paper.
I gotta send you a message then. I'll send you a gift, but I
For me to
gotta
wrap?
figure out. Yeah. I still can't get the finishing part down. I feel like I fold over the end pieces too much where it's really thick.
No, don't do that.
But then you got to cut it so it's a straight line. Or did you go
that's
into a triangle at
I
the
do the
flaps?
dun, dun, what is it? Dun, 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 thing. Yeah, so it's
that one.
triangle.
Okay, triangle.
But it has to be
Alright.
able to come to a triangle. I can't go like this.
Okay, yeah. So I go boom and then a flat line. Know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay, I'll take a picture next time I wrap a gift. Sam Dog.
Sorry, I was just deep in thought about what I was going to do because I blanked. But my number 2 would definitely be last minute travel packing. I'm leaving for Vegas tomorrow at 5:20 a.m. and I have not packed a single thing. But let me tell you, I will have snacks, drinks, clothes, accessories, shoes, everything you can think of, and I'll be ready to go. And I will get it done at the very last minute because I'm a natural born procrastinator and I don't learn my lesson because I always get it done. So I think that's my number 2.
Yeah, I hate that. I'm terrible at that.
Are you the type of person that gets to the airport 100 years early?
No.
Okay,
I'm the
yeah.
complete opposite. I
Same.
get there
last aboard.
Oh,
Last
me too. I am
aboard.
they're calling my name and they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, where you been?" I'm like, "Hey, I live 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
Just got here. Just finished packing."
That's what's nice about Nashville, though. It is quick and easy to get to the airport.
Have you been to the
Have
new
you traveled there recently?
been a
when they
little while.
redid it all?
No,
It
all you
ain't
guys
that-
here, no way.
It used to be
Yeah.
back in the day before they tried to make us all fancy like.
I went with
Yeah.
we were traveling with our kids last week and I showed up. This is aggressive. Showed up an hour and 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
They wouldn't let us check our bags.
What?
They're like, you have missed it. You need to be here 2 hours ahead of time. I was like, for what?
2 hours.
To check your bags. They literally did not let us check our bags.
Oh God, does that mean I have to go to the
What?
airport at 2
Domestic
a.m.?
or
Domestic.
international? That's wild.
That's brutal.
Do you think
So-
it's because of the new
airlines?
setup, or do you think it's just
don't-
they were having a bad
I
day?
don't know. But it was wild. So we had to take all of our bags through TSA, which was a disaster.
Of course. What if you had
Trying to
shampoo
negotiate
and
with them,
stuff?
they're like, this doesn't fit in the thing. I'm like, well, it's got to go through here. Search it if you would like.
What?
It was wild.
That's crazy. Side note, is the worst part about having kids traveling?
No, it's amazing. We travel with our
You
kids a
tell
lot.
me that's amazing going to the airport having to check
It
bags?
is not bad.
Okay.
I would say that we have become the curbside check-in people. that
Okay.
is-
Yeah, it's worth it.
Before you have kids, you're like, why is this here? And then you have kids, you're like, this is the greatest
Yeah,
gift ever.
I've done curbside checking. I have no kids.
It's amazing. But honestly, it's fun because it's obviously not as easy. You don't fall asleep in your seat for the entire plane ride. You have to entertain
Yeah.
a tiny human. But everything is so magical to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything.
I think that's the best part, or what I hear about having kids, is that obviously when you get to an age, you're kind of just going through the motions, and everything's really not as exciting as it once was, whether it's holidays. But now with kids, you get to relive all of that through them.
Oh yeah. We take our babies everywhere.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
that's awesome.
It's not easy, but
Yeah,
it's awesome.
that should be an Olympic sport.
There we go.
You should do an amazing race with 2 kids.
I think so.
Have you done an amazing race?
No.
Would you?
We
You and Andrew would kill it. You guys would
We
do
were
so
supposed
good.
to this year.
Oh, this year.
But it's radio silence from your kids for almost 3 months. You
Ooh.
can't text them, call them.
Nothing, yeah.
And I can't do that.
Yeah, they don't let you really contact the outside world on those shows at all.
Have you done Amazing Race?
No, I haven't. Maybe I'm on it right now.
Are you?
No.
I say the way you said that, you no.
No,
Yeah.
no. That would be a good one.
No, they said radio silence, and I was like,
Yeah, I can't do
my
that.
kids will go to therapy because of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey, at
probably.
least you're aware of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. What are we at? Number one?
Number one, I think.
My number one is going to be any sort of charades game, like a heads up, the celebrity game, whatever it's going to be, where you have like a timer,
You have to guess, and
but
you
it's
have a
like
partner.
you gotta spit quick. What was now I'm talking about how good I am at speaking quickly, and I just messed it up. That's ironic. But like communicating with someone, but like trying to think the
clearly.
way they think. Yeah, I'm doing a really good job of selling it right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you want that as your number one.
No, but I am elite. Like I would. This is the only thing I've listed today that I'm confident in. Like I will win. I will win every charades game, every heads up game, every. Well, so long as my partner has 4 brain cells. You know what I mean? Like it's a team effort.
Yeah.
But I am.
Okay, that's a good one. I'll back you on that.
Yeah, I'm superb. It's like the only thing I got.
My number one is carrying groceries from the car into the kitchen. I will take on anybody in that, and it will only take one trip every time. I think that's a guy thing, right, fellas? Yeah. Like you gotta only take one trip.
You'll like break the eggs and stuff too.
What's that?
You'll break the eggs and stuff too.
Yeah,
just because
I don't
you'll-
care if I
yeah.
break anything. It's just like
Yeah.
the point of getting it there in
Absolutely.
one shot. A little difficult with my shoulder right now, but
But you can still do it.
I just gotta load up the left side. All right, well, I think that's it.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's it. Shawn Johnson East, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
That was
having me.
awesome. We appreciate it. Everybody give it up for Shawn Johnson.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. That was fun.